is good, my people, my peeps? So I thought I'd stop in since it is a long weekend. The majority of you may be off tomorrow. It's Memorial Day weekend. And just have a conversation because boy, has it been a day, okay? It has been a day over here on this platform. I don't know where you been, but you should have been over here with your friend. Okay? It has been a day. And I'm sitting up here and I'm thinking, gosh, who, uh, who can we date, right? And I should have actually changed that title a little bit. I should have added a couple of things onto the title more than who can we date. Um, I should have added once you have been, once you've had any kind of, um, if you've been a public figure of any sort, that's what I really should have. I should have targeted that down because that's kind of a broad title. Who can you date, right? But y'all, we can work with it. But I might change the title. It really should be who can you date once you've been a public figure. And today it was crazy over here. Just my goodness. What went down this afternoon had me had me think about this because I have been in the public eye for a while, not just on these YouTube streets, okay? If you know, you know. If you've been following me, you have heard my story. Um, so I have been out here publicly as a public figure for many years, okay? And I got a couple of stories to share that once you become a public figure of any sort, whether it be whether you come out the industry, um, or on these YouTube streets, a streamer, or anything of that nature. Once you become a public figure, most people have to think differently, right? And so it was so very interesting. I think I might share three stories with you from my, um, working in media, mass media, and working with celebrities. Okay. Um, and at the time, I really didn't have to think about that because at the time when I first started, like House Nicole, I actually was still married. And then when I got separated and divorced and all that, um, I wasn't really concerned about dating anybody. I was concerned about working, just trying to start over, start a new life. So I wasn't really concerned about dating. But I had heard, like from other interviews and things like that, and celebrities, um, some celebrities used to say, they didn't want to date anybody else in the industry or in the business because they know, how some people's egos are inflated, you know what I'm saying? And so they didn't want to date anybody in the industry. They'd rather date somebody out the industry. And then I heard people say they would rather date, it was a mixture of thoughts people had when it came to dating. If you have ever been a public figure or around that, you probably heard these type of conversations. But I never took heed to it until I was asked to do, because I used to work in a major media company, but I had made many connections, and there was an event center, and they would contact me to be the host when any artist would come into town, to go pick them up from the airport, make sure they got in the right vehicle, right? Make sure they got to the hotel, make sure they got to sound check on time, and ate, got the whatever they wanted to eat, whatever was on their rider. Okay, so sometimes I would do that as basically like a side gig from my main job. I always had a main job, y'all. That's just been me. Okay, so, and no names will be mentioned of the celebrities, but I remember this one celebrity had came to town, and I was, taking him, doing what he had to do, getting him from the airport, and you know, doing everything that was on the agenda for that day before the show started. And he was, I tell you, some celebrities, they can be nice and some can be downright evil, mean. So he had been talking on the phone, or I just remember overhearing a conversation where he needed an assistant. And I don't know if that conversation was for me to hear, okay, but I remember overhearing that he needed an assistant. And at that time, I wasn't even thinking about being on no radio, okay? I thought I took the radio as a job, not a career, but as a job. And so I said, hey, I got a background in planning and organizing, yada, yada, yada. Let me apply for that job as your assistant. And I remember this celebrity told me, he said, you know what? I would love for you to be my assistant, but I could not hire you as my assistant. And I was shocked. Like, what? You haven't even looked at my credentials. I mean, why can't you hire me as your assistant, right? I asked this question. He said, I couldn't hire you as my assistant because I find you attractive and eventually I would want to sleep with you. This is what he said straight up and down. Shocked me. I was shocked. I was shocked, but I was shocked in a good way, right? Because for him to come out and be upfront and say that, and not to try to manipulate me into a job in order to get something out of me other than working for him. You understand what I'm saying? So that was an eye opener to me. I see people coming in and out the building. As you come in and out, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up for me. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. So that was my first eye opener. I was like, ah, okay. I didn't realize at the time, the more I became, out there doing appearances and hosting events and things like that, it would get harder and harder and more difficult and more difficult for me to start dating anyone. And you might say, well, how would it be more difficult for you to start dating anyone? Seems like it would be easier, you know? But I tell you, if you are, and for people who are a public figure, streamers, YouTubers, anything along those lines, you already know what I'm talking about. Because it's always constantly, people have an ulterior motive, right? People have an ulterior motive when they perceive you to have a little bit of status, a little bit of motion. People have an ulterior motive. And so you have to be extra careful when it comes to selecting someone to date, to talk to, because hell, you don't know if these people is recording conversations for later use, for later trying to get money out of you. You just don't know the ulterior motives of people. Now, I remember I was like, I'm still thinking that, hey, I'm just on this station. It ain't no big deal. I can date whomever I want to date when I start dating. Bump, bump, bump. So I remember this is the first story. I remember this guy had asked me out on a date. And I was like, okay, hey, yeah, it's cool. We can go out on a date. Still being very naive at that time about the ulterior motives of people. Okay? And so we went out on a date. And I remember he was like, oh, hey, let's take a picture. And I was like, hey, I was not thinking my people, my peeps. Hey, yeah, let's take a picture. It's cool. Let's take a picture. Taking pictures, chilling. But I remember in our conversations and stuff like that, that he kept saying that he had just like he was fresh out of a breakup. Okay? He was freshly out of a breakup. And he was like, let's go to this restaurant. Let's go to this restaurant. Let's take more pictures. And then he was like, oh, do you mind if I post this picture on my Facebook page? And I'm telling you, this is for you people, you youngsters who are coming up. Maybe some of you old heads that don't know if you're coming into this a life of being a public figure, being seen, noticed, having a voice, a platform of whether it be large or small, growing. I'm just sitting there. I'm like naive to the ulterior motives of people in this game. And so he was like, yeah, can I post it to my social media Facebook? And I was like, yeah, you can post it to your Facebook. And so he posted some pictures of us, um, out and about on the town, out to dinner. Uh-huh. And then later we are on the phone conversating, right? And this man is telling me about how his ex was just hitting him up. Who is this lady? And you can hear the giddiness in his voice. Y'all hold on, let me get something to drink. You can hear the giddiness in his voice, right? Never forget it. Never forget it. Hmm. Okay. Give me some ice cold water. I don't know if water is good for your throat when it's raspy. But anyway, y'all, you can hear the giddiness in this man's voice when he was telling me of the story of his ex, the one he was freshly out of a relationship, how she was hitting him up on Facebook, saying, "Who is this woman?" She had went to my Facebook page, and he was like, she missed out. I'm with you, and I'm sitting there stunned, like he was literally wanting these pictures to post on his social media of us. And I had nothing to hide. So I never thought of it as it being an ulterior motive for him, but it was. And so I didn't think I had anything to hide. So yeah, you can post this on your social media. But he was trying to make his ex jealous, right? Jealous. And obviously, it was trying to bait her in some way of talking to him again, but yet and still he thought he would be able to talk to me still after he told me what he had did and how she kept hitting him up, and as if that was a flex to me. And soon after that, we wasn't talking no more. Okay, red flag, red flag, red flag. And I started to realize, wow, people will actually use you if they know you have any kind of push, any kind of motion, whether it be a little baby push of motion or if you got a large platform, they will try to use you. Okay? In relationships, we're talking about dating. And like I said, I think I'm going to have to change this title because I want to zero in on dating. Who can you date if you have ever been a public figure at any level? Who can you date? Because that question is very valid because it's like, who can you trust? Right? Who can you trust comes into who can you date, when dating shouldn't, it should be about trust, but not trust in the sense of you have to watch or think about what this person might try to get out of you to advance themselves, to uh, without your knowledge, okay, um, to manipulate you or someone else in any kind of way. These are things you have to start thinking about. And earlier in my career, I had no clue. Like I said, the first time it came to my thoughts were when I tried to apply to work with the celebrity as his assistant. He was like, hell to the no. No, because I will try to flirt with you. He was straight up and down. He said, all right, no, you can't even fill out an application. Okay? And I mean, I was appreciative of him saying that straight up and down to me. But then I came across the second one we just talked about, where he tried to just use me, thought he was going to have me as, I guess, eye candy for when we went out, but also make his ex girlfriend jealous and reel her back in some kind of way. I guess he thought he was about to be the player. No, gotta go. Okay. Another situation is almost similar to the last one. This was more recently. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I think 3 years ago, around the time I moved. Okay. So, about 3 years, 2.5 years ago, I was asked to go out on a date. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Every time I attempt to say, yeah, let me give it a try. Let me give it a shot. It's always something attached to why a man would ask me out on a date. So this person is like, well, do you like to get manicures and pedicures? I'm like, heck yeah. And he was like, oh, okay, because he liked to get his pedicures done, which men they do nowadays. That's not a big deal, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, because, he had a whole roster, basically, itinerary of what he wanted to do on the day we were going to do this date. So it was a lot, y'all. I mean, literally. Uh, so he was like, yeah, we can go get our feet done. You can get your nails done, and you can we're gonna go get something to eat, and then we're gonna go to this party that they're hosting over here, and he want to stop at some other places and things like that. And he came and he picked me up. And I remember, I guess I wasn't dressed to his liking, because I had like a long summer dress on, because it was summertime. And so I remember him coming to the door. He was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey." I had a summer dress on with like a jean jacket, because it still was, I guess it was like summer, spring going into summer. So it still could get a little chilly. You know how that weather is kind of weird. And so, but I was fully covered. And he said, "Oh," he said, "Are you going to wear that?" I was like, "Yes." He said, "Oh, we can stop by the store, and you can pick out anything that you want to wear." And man, I was like, "Nah, I'm good." So we're driving, you know, and he was telling me, he started talking about his ex. You know, you hear a lot of men say women talk about their exes during dates or getting to know each other. Sometimes they just talk about them too doggone much. Men do it too, ladies. Trust and believe. Men do it doggone too. And so we're on the first checklist of this itinerary this man has. And so he's telling me about his ex and how she owns a salon. Okay. And she also, where you can get your hair done and you can get manicures and pedicures, the whole workup, y'all. And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't know how you would feel about going there. But that's where I normally go to get my pedicures done." And I was like, "Do you now?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "But we're broken up. You know, we are no longer seeing each other. That's just where I just happen to go get my pedicures. Do you feel comfortable going there?" I said immediately, hell to the no. I don't feel comfortable, but not like that. You know, I was more polite. I said, "No, I do not feel comfortable going to your ex who owns the damn salon." I mean, ladies, you got to pay attention to these things. 'Cause that's like putting you in harm's way. Okay? Harm's way. You don't know the mental state of this woman. You don't know what went down over they break up. I don't care if it was a year breakup. Because people break up, they still be going back and sneaking and creeping and seeing each other till, till it's done. Till, till they really say this is done. So I was like, "No, I don't feel comfortable going to your ex's salon." He said, "Oh, no, 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 no problem, no problem." And so we go to another salon. We sit there, very nice salon. We're getting our pedicures and manicures done. And people, the ladies there must have thought he was a rapper or something, the way they was acting. Okay. And the bill got run. It was expensive. Okay. Because this was a type, you getting served wine and food and all that very nice place. And so we finished getting our stuff done, and he still he still wants to take me shopping. Okay? He still wants to take me shopping. Now, I'm starting to feel some kind of way. Cause I'm thinking I look cute in this doggone summer dress I got on. I don't know what his problem is. Okay? But my nails was looking cute, my toes was feeling fresh. Okay? He was like, "Yeah, just think about it." So as I'm supposed to be thinking about him taking me shopping for a new outfit, because we're going to go. I told you it was an itinerary. It was a list of events and places that this man wanted to take me. And so he said, think about it while we stop at one of my cousin's house, a homeboy's house, something like that. And so we drive, we go to this nice neighborhood, okay? Big houses, beautiful homes. I'm like, okay, these folks doing it big over here, nice. Okay, that's what's up. So we get to the place. He knocked on the door. His homeboy come. He opens the door. He walks in. He walks in with his swagger. Cause I'm telling you, he had swag. I said a minute ago, when we were in the nail salon, how the women were acting. To get you to understand, he had a charisma about him. Okay, and so he walks in. He's swags. He do that. His walk into his homeboy's house. And his homeboy looks at me and he was like, hey, welcome, very courteous and nice. And um, now, mind you, I ain't know his ex's name. And so, the homeboys have a seat. So I'm sitting down in the living room and my date says something to his homeboy for a hot second, but he's moving around the house, going in and out of rooms, going out on the patio, and but he mentions a female's name, right? And so his homeboy's like, "Oh, you're not going over to such and such?" No, no, I don't think I'm gonna go over there. That's what he's saying as he's walking around this house. Okay, and I'm just sitting there, and so his friend comes over to the living room, sits down and starts talking because his friend know what the hell he doing. I was lost in the doggone sauce. I ain't know why this man is walking around this damn house, this big ass house. Okay, but obviously, uh, long story short, this house was like a main hangout for this group of friends, including his ex girlfriend. So he obviously thought his ex girlfriend would be at this house. Okay? I'm telling you, once whether you have a small platform, big platform, as a public figure, people will use you as a trophy, just to prop you up and sit you out there or have you hold on to their arm, man or woman. This can go for you fellas too. I'm just telling you some of my experiences that I experienced, which makes you think, who the hell can you date? And I have to put the tagline down there, as a public figure, whether it be big or small. Okay? Because this man, he knew what I did as well. And so he's walking around the house. She's not there. Okay? So that his friend is he's he's trying to not make it seem so obvious that this man is looking for this woman. And so he couldn't find her. He was like, okay, man, well, we're gonna go ahead and go. He said, you gonna make it to the spot, to this other place we supposed to go to. And he was like, nah, such and such gonna be there. This woman's name comes up again. Now it is absolutely clear. Although I said I did not want to go to her salon that she owned, um, but he's literally trying to get us in the same vicinity. You understand what I'm saying? For her to actually see him with me, to cause or make this woman feel some type of jealousy. Ladies and gentlemen, I that is the most dangerous thing you can do. So you don't have people who do that, they don't have any concern for your safety because they don't realize people snap daily. Okay? And so we pull up because it was supposed to be something at a park. And then we were gonna do, I tell you, it was a whole list of some stuff. And as we're driving, he's like, we can stop at this store. You can go shopping. It's on my dime. And I was like, oh no, I'm good. And so he shows me, he opens the glove compartment and he shows me a picture of his ex. And he was like, oh yeah, this is my ex. I just wanted you to see her and see, this is how she used to dress. Y'all, this stuff really happened to me. This how she used to dress. This woman was, first of all, older than me. Okay? And dressed with like skin tight clothes, very provocative. Okay? That's not how I dress. Okay? I don't dress in skin tight clothes. And if I want to be sexy, I know how to make it work without having to show every body part or make everything squeeze and puff out, if you know what I mean. So I'm looking at this picture, but he tried to do it on the slide because it wasn't just her. It was some other pictures like of him, and but she happened to be in the mixture of that little picture stack. And I was like, oh. So he puts the pictures away. We're still driving and talking, and he was still trying to get me to go to the damn store so he can buy me some damn clothes. Because he trying to turn me into her. He trying to make me put on or buy me some clothes that would be scandalous. He wanted me scantily clad. Okay? And so as he keeps trying to push for us to go to these stores, I'm defensive now. I'm like, no, I'm good. You go see me. If we bump into this woman, she gonna see me in this long ass summer dress with my uh what they call them half cut blue jean jacket on because it's chilly out this mug, and because that's what I put on today. No, I don't want to go to the store. You don't got to buy me no clothes. And so he was like, okay. He finally gave up. So he was like, oh, let's ride over here by this park because they're supposed to be getting together and having this picnic and yada, yada, yada. And he said, so he pulls into the park. And he said, you gonna get out? I said, mm-mm. Mm-mm. Okay? You have blown it. Hello, Mark. How you doing? How you doing? He blew it. You hear me? No, I'm not getting out. He's like, well, I'm gonna get out and go up here and see what's up, and I'll be right back. Okay, go do what you do. I sat right in that car. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as you become more and more known, okay, it will, trust and believe, take it from me, become harder to date people because people will have ulterior motives. And trust me, even you people on YouTube, YouTubers with small platforms, it they will still try to use you as a stepping stone. So the question remains, who do you date? Because in that same question, it is who can you trust? Right? Do you date somebody who you think doesn't know you? Because let me say, people be knowing you when you don't be knowing them. You know what I'm saying? people be knowing you. And y'all say, oh, people don't know you. I'm going to tell you, before I even started working at the radio station, before I started doing or hosting any social media platform, when I had House of Nicole, and I would go out, sometimes with it was always, first of all, with my camera guy, but it would be one cameraman, sometimes when we did club events. And sometimes I would take a female assistant along with me, but not all the time. And before I even got that female assistant, that was later down the line, first and foremost. When in the beginning, it was me and my camera guy. And we would go to club because back in the day, um, sometimes they would have concerts or mini concerts in clubs. So I interviewed Kelly Price, Keith Sweat, so many different artists in different venues. Okay. And I would do so many venues, so many events in one night that it got to the point where I would tell my camera guy, shoot just a cowboy shot because I'm just changing my top. Okay. And I wanted different looks for different events. So he had to shoot me cowboy style. If you in filmmaking, you know what that's about. So, and I gave you kind of a hint. Um, so guys, this is before I even uploaded my first video to Facebook. And that was I wasn't even trying to be a host of any platform. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Um, when I uploaded my first video, I'm going to go back. It was when I managed a DJ, and he was very popular DJ in the city. And I told this story before. I can never remember this man's name that came to this club that night. Um, I would have to go on my Facebook to look it up. Mystical. It was a rapper, y'all. He came to the club, and the girl I wanted to host to be the host of House Nicole. It wasn't even called House Nicole. I had no name for it. Nothing. I just had an idea for this show. She couldn't come down from Dallas, so I'm stranded. The DJ. I'm sharing my idea with him, and so we're in the club. He's in the DJ booth. The guy, he performs, and my DJ hands me a mic and says, "You got a camera? Go down there and do the interview." And I'm standing there looking at the DJ, and he's like, "Go down there and do the interview." Okay, so that's how everything started when I went down there and asked. I was nervous as hell. Okay. I was nervous as hell, but I faked the funk. I shocked myself. I filmed it and uploaded it to Facebook because it wasn't even Facebook Live back then. Okay, and so going forward, I was doing these events, more and more of these club events with artists. Welcome in, with artists and things of that nature. Y'all, one night, and I say this, I'm telling you this story to people who have smaller platforms, and you might think nobody will recognize me or know me. This story is for you. Okay? So I did a few interviews. Um, I had uploaded the video probably a month or so ago, and I I was invited to another club event. And so I'm walking out. Now, at this particular club, I happen to know all the bouncers. And because that club was one of the clubs my DJ used to DJ for it. And I knew the manager and the assistant managers, okay? And so I would go to these clubs, y'all, like I said, with just my camera guy, which was a white guy, a small, skinny white guy. Ain't no Muslim, no, he wasn't, he was a camera guy, and myself. And not thinking I needed any type of protection, any type of, I felt very much comfortable. So my camera guy, it's a wrap. He gets the footage. I boom, 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 interview, and I'm out. I never stayed at the party. I just did what I need to do and go. And so I'm walking out. My camera guy had already bounced. And this group of guys are just standing in the front of the club. I'm walking out, and they turned around and they were like, "Oh, it's boss lady." I'm smiling, like, "Hey," "Hey, boss lady," and they come and they surround me and they're hugging me like a football team group hug or something. I know I don't think football teams do group hugs, but it was like a huddle. And I was in the middle, and all of these men are surrounding me, hugging me, talking about, "What's up, boss lady?" But to me, it shocked me because I didn't have no major platform for these folks to know who I was like that. Do you understand? And they're hugging me, they're not letting me go. And all I could do was smile, keep smiling, and all I could do was move my eyes over to the door. And even at that time, the bouncers were like they were froze in place looking. But when I turned my eyes to the side and looked sideways to the bouncers, it almost like it unlocked them from being frozen in place because they was looking like they were shocked that these men even knew who the hell I was. And they were like, "Hey, hey, hey, back up, back up, back up, move." And the bouncer walked me to my car. And I drove home shocked. This is before, YouTube was a joke when you told somebody back in those days you had a YouTube channel. This is before YouTube was popping. This was before everybody was basically on Facebook, okay? Or Instagram. That's how this was back then, okay? And so there was no way for these folks to know me in this town uh, like that. So when I say it doesn't matter if you have a smaller platform, I was known, and it wasn't a whole bunch of social media platforms that I was uploading to that they could get this information from. It wasn't like that. It was so mind-blowing that when I got a phone call from the newspaper, that's right, the newspaper, it's still newspaper around, but I got a phone call because they were like, "We want to do an interview with you." I'm like, how these folks know about me? Because like I tried to explain to you all before about when I talked about how these streamers are doing and how when people are off of a stream or off of your internet or off of watching you, are seeing how you move and how you handle yourself and the content you put forth, they go to talking. And in advertising, the number one form of advertising is still the number one form, and that's word of mouth. That's right. Still the number one form of advertising, word of mouth. So don't think because you have a small YouTube channel or wherever your channel or platform is that nobody knows you. Because people will know you that you don't think know you in places you wouldn't even think they would know you. So I say to you, Going forward, if you are single and ready to mingle, the question is, who do you date? Who can you date? And it's all in the same question, because who can you trust? Right? Just wanted to come on here tonight, give you that quick message, thought that I had thinking about, because it was wild out here today. Even when you not dating folks get in their feelings. Folks get in their feelings, and it's interesting, y'all. Very interesting. All right, I am out, and much, much love.